The Formula One paddock thrives on drama, but few stories have been as quietly explosive as the whispers surrounding Christian Horner's next move. After months of strained relations within Red Bull, reports now suggest that Horner has been engaged in discreet conversations with Alpine's leadership. These talks, shrouded in secrecy, hint at something more than casual networking. They point to a calculated response to months of internal power struggles. Ever since the Austrian faction within Red Bull consolidated its influence, Horner's once unshakable authority has been tested at every turn. The power balance shifted subtly yet decisively, leaving Horner sidelined in strategic decisions. Now, with Alpine reportedly seeking a fresh direction after seasons of inconsistency, the idea of Horner stepping into a new leadership role carries seismic implications. The prospect is not just about a change of team, it's about leverage, image, and reclaiming control. If these talks are as advanced as insiders suggest, Formula One could be on the brink of one of its most unexpected leadership upheavals in years. The roots of this brewing conflict trace back to a decisive internal restructuring at Red Bull. Following the passing of co-founder Dietrich Mateschitz, the team's Austrian leadership began asserting greater control over key decisions. Figures such as Oliver Mintzlaff emerged as central power brokers, shaping the team's vision in ways that often clashed with Horner's approach. What had once been a balanced partnership between the UK-based operation and its Austrian owners gradually tilted toward Salzburg. This shift wasn't just about operational oversight. It extended to strategic partnerships, sponsorship deals, and even driver contract negotiations. Horner, long accustomed to steering the team's competitive and commercial direction, found himself increasingly excluded from these conversations. While his public statements remained measured, those close to the situation noticed a growing sense of frustration. In a sport where leadership stability is crucial to performance, this internal friction was both a distraction and a sign of deeper tensions. The Austrian consolidation created an environment where Horner's influence waned, setting the stage for the dramatic developments that would follow. The most striking sign of division came during heated debates over the future of Red Bull's sister team, Racing Bulls. The Austrians favored a stronger integration with the main team, potentially shifting operational control away from the UK base. Horner opposed this move, advocating for a more independent structure that could serve as both a testing ground for young drivers and a creative hub for experimental strategies. The disagreements escalated behind closed doors, with sources describing tense meetings and sharp exchanges between Horner and senior Austrian executives. These disputes weren't merely philosophical, they had tangible implications for staffing, budget allocation, and long-term competitiveness. When key personnel began shifting into roles more aligned with the Austrian vision, Horner saw the writing on the wall. For someone who had built a legacy on autonomy and results, this was an unmistakable signal that his era of dominance was under threat. This breakdown in consensus would not be contained, and soon the whispers about Horner's potential departure grew louder. While Red Bull's internal drama played out, Alpine faced its own set of challenges. After a promising start to its factory team project, progress stalled. A revolving door of team principles, inconsistent driver lineups, and unclear long-term strategies left the French squad struggling to maintain momentum. Their Renault power unit lagged behind the competition, and despite flashes of potential, podium finishes remained rare. Investors and executives in Paris grew increasingly impatient, recognizing that without a decisive change in leadership, Alpine risked slipping into permanent midfield obscurity. The arrival of a figure with Horner's track record could not only stabilize the team but also reshape its competitive identity. His ability to build winning structures, secure lucrative sponsorships, and manage high-pressure environments was exactly what Alpine lacked. In a sport where leadership vision often dictates performance, Alpine's interest in Horner was not surprising. What was unexpected was the speed with which these discussions seemed to intensify. given the discreet nature of their early contact. Insiders suggest the initial conversations between Horner and Alpine were facilitated by mutual contacts in the automotive industry. These were not formal job interviews, but exploratory discussions about the state of Formula One, the challenges facing smaller teams, and the potential for strategic partnerships. However, as the Austrian grip tightened at Red Bull, Horner's tone reportedly shifted from casual to contemplative. Alpine's leadership, sensing an opportunity, began outlining scenarios where Horner could assume a pivotal role, potentially as an executive figure overseeing both racing and commercial operations. This was a delicate phase. Both parties needed plausible deniability in case word leaked. Yet the discussions were substantive enough to include considerations about staffing changes, technical collaborations, and even marketing realignments. The prospect of Horner bringing trusted Red Bull engineers and strategists with him was particularly appealing to Alpine. What began as informal dialogue was fast becoming a blueprint for a radical restructuring, one that could alter the balance of power in Formula One. The secrecy of the talks didn't last long. Subtle hints began appearing in specialist motorsport publications, suggesting that a high-profile team principal was considering a move. Although no names were mentioned initially, the combination of details made Horner an obvious suspect for those reading between the lines. The leaks served multiple purposes. They tested the waters within the paddock, gauging reaction from sponsors, partners, and even rival teams. They also applied pressure on both Red Bull and Alpine, forcing internal discussions to accelerate. For Red Bull, the prospect of losing Horner was a potential PR blow, given his status as the face of their modern F1 dominance. For Alpine, the publicity was a double-edged sword. It could attract investor interest, but also risk unsettling current management and drivers. In the chess game of Formula One politics, these leaks were not accidental. They were calculated moves designed to shape perception and influence the next steps in negotiations. Once the rumors gained traction, Red Bull moved swiftly to contain the narrative. Senior Austrian executives reportedly initiated direct talks with Horner, offering potential compromises to keep him within the organization. These included adjustments to his decision-making authority, renewed budget control for key projects, and assurances about his role in future technical developments. However, the underlying trust had been eroded. For Horner, the offers came across less as genuine reconciliation and more as tactical delay, an attempt to prevent disruption mid-season. Meanwhile, some within Red Bull's UK base rallied around Horner, quietly lobbying for his retention. But the Austrian faction remained steadfast in their vision for centralized control. The standoff revealed just how far apart the two sides had drifted. Every meeting became a balancing act between preserving public unity and managing private discord. As the summer break approached, the possibility of an irreversible split no longer felt like speculation. It was becoming a realistic outcome. With Red Bull's internal divisions deepening, Alpine seized the moment to present Horner with a formal proposal. This was not just an offer of employment. It was a transformative vision for the team's future. Horner would be granted full operational autonomy, a rare commodity in modern Formula One. The plan included a multi-year budget commitment from Renault, substantial investments in technical facilities, and the freedom to restructure the team's leadership as he saw fit. Such conditions addressed the very frustrations that had pushed Horner toward the exit at Red Bull. Moreover, Alpine promised a clear long-term strategy aimed at breaking into the top 3 constructors within 5 years. The combination of resources, independence, and a fresh challenge was difficult to ignore. For Horner, the decision was no longer about whether Alpine was interested. It was about whether he was ready to walk away from the empire he had helped build. The decisive moment reportedly came during a confidential meeting in Monaco, where Horner met with both Alpine executives and key Renault stakeholders. Here he was presented with final assurances regarding budget, technical support, and long-term commitment. At the same time, news reached him of yet another internal decision at Red Bull made without his involvement, this time regarding future driver development programs. The contrast between Alpine's willingness to empower him and Red Bull's persistent sidelining could not have been sharper. While Horner remained publicly non-committal, those close to him noted a shift in demeanor. He began delegating more responsibilities at Red Bull, subtly preparing the team for a possible transition. The turning point was less about a single event and more about the accumulation of slights and opportunities. By the end of that week, the balance had tipped decisively toward change, even if the official announcement remained weeks away. If Horner does make the leap to Alpine, the ripple effects will be felt far beyond the two teams involved. Red Bull would face the challenge of replacing not just a principal, but a figure who has been instrumental in their modern identity. Alpine, on the other hand, would gain a leader with a proven track record of turning ambition into results. Such a move could also inspire broader shifts in Formula One's competitive dynamics, prompting other teams to reassess leadership structures and talent acquisition strategies. For Horner, this would be more than a career move. It would be a statement. After years of dominance at Red Bull, stepping into a rebuilding project at Alpine could redefine his legacy, showing that his success was not solely tied to one organization's resources. Whether viewed as revenge, renewal, or reinvention, the outcome of these talks could mark the beginning of a new chapter in the sport's ongoing power struggle.